Who would like to give a summary?
Oh boy. It hasn't been a month, so it's a little easier this time. So we started by fighting the Carol Hoole's pet, which we killed, and we were hearing moans or screams. We could or like male cries, yelling. We did see Gruzza, and she pieced, and we couldn't catch her. And this is super abbreviated because the last battle is the most interesting. So we ended up finding a statue of once we were working our way north, we found a statue of Carol Hoole pointing down the hall, and the chambers, and that's the way that Gruzza ran, and the chambers where she ran were flooding, and were completely flooded. So we decided not to chase after her and just kind of leave her to her own fate. We ended up finding a chamber where there were two children and Carol Holt, who was speaking through the children, which was a little off-putting because typically mind flayers don't speak through others, but she had, or yeah, she or he had. We engaged in combat. There was a giant alligator that was nesting in the warmer waters in the same chamber. Throughout the course of the fight, it ended up taking Helweir and nearly killing him. Zarius cast stabilized him just in time for him to be taken underwater. And with a few lucky rolls, he ended up punching the alligator in the face and killing it, and being freed. We vanquished Carol Hoole. The children were the first to die in honor of Lucia Rossi. We found Samus Holbein unconscious but still alive, just barely, profusely bleeding, or kind of oozing, not like bleeding like gushing, but like kind of oozing, clear open wound. There's a dagger in his face that has the hilt of a I forgot what the hilt was, but it was an ominous omen.
It's a Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
It's a Grim Reaper. That's the hilt of a Grim Reaper. And it doesn't look like healing is going to help him. So there's some sort of magical element associated with this dagger that's preventing him from healing magic from working as expected.
Well, since he's one of the soft races anyway, you're probably going to die.
T-Hole, you'll find no disagreement with T-Hole.
Our mission is to keep him alive.
Yes, we need him alive for our contract. But Lucia Rossi retrieved Helweir from the underwater place where the croc took him. And we are all sitting in the room right now where Carol Hoole and the battle took place, or the battle of Carol Hoole took place, and we're assessing our options as to what we should be doing.
Right.
Everybody's pretty beat up, and we're all out of spell slots. We've been warned that this is not a place where we want to rest because of the Lizard Queen. And the lizard folk can control the water and the flood waters. So we don't necessarily want to stick around. Also, there are still many thralls in the area, and while the thralldom of Carol will wear off, they'll still be loyal for some time. So if any of them find us, we may have to engage in battle.
The really lucky roll for Hellweir wasn't even hitting the alligator, because that he could do reasonably well. It was that he was unconscious but stable. And I said if he wanted to roll, and if he rolled a nat 20, I'd say he comes conscious again with 1 hit point. And he managed to do that. So he might have been dragged away unconscious and drowning. Instead, he was dragged away conscious and drowning.
which is slightly better.
That's after I warned him to stay away from the water.
He also partly got into that trouble because he decided to try to negotiate with the alligator.
That's true.
The alligator just thought he was offering himself up.
So the room you're in is essentially was once upon a time a chapel to this strange version of an elven god. It's now just filled with bodies, all of which have been tortured to death. But the fight is over. It's completely silent down here once again. You don't hear anything in the background. Hellweir and Lucia Rossi have reappeared out of the water.
Hellweir, are you okay?
Yes, I should collect its skin. And then maybe wear it.
You just barely kept alive. You were just barely conscious as the alligator is taking you under, and the first thing you say is talking about wearing people's skin. You know what? I like that kind of thing. I've always liked you for a reason, Hellweir.
The creature has been burned. There is no more skin.
Has the creature been burned?
Yes. First it was chopped up, but then there was a sort of dark presence about it that was just hanging around the body. And it's still here. It's just hanging around the room. Maybe the whole temple, who knows? But in order to try to dispel it, they used sacred fire on the body.
Yeah, that's right.
I thought Hellweir might have been talking about the alligator skin, though. And that's still fine.
Oh, you just have to go and get it. Back into the water.
I'd rather not, just in case. There might be those damn fish which eat people.
Is there anything on the altar?
You did also find a book in a language that you couldn't decipher. Your comprehend languages essentially, it reads just like crazy random words from your comprehend languages. It's probably written in a language that's so alien that a literal translation of it just doesn't make sense.
I see. Would I know anybody who I could give this to that might be able to help us in deciphering it?
I would say you definitely must know someone who can identify the language. I mean, given that you're a wizard, you must know some other wizard somewhere. And if you get enough wizards together in a room, they probably speak most of the languages.
I thought there was a joke coming.
How many wizards does it take to to comprehend this book?
Nerds.
And there are universities where you would probably also figure that there are people who can maybe read it. I mean, you haven't identified what the language is, and that's the only point that maybe makes it a little less than certain.
Okay. So I'd want to kind of tuck that away for later investigation and review. T-Hole doesn't believe in universities, but he does recognize that that they serve a need, like deciphering this book.
I'm going to use. I still have second wind. I'm going to use that.
Okay.
So do I just roll a random? Do I just roll a 10-sider, or do I click on it or something?
You probably have to roll it if you filled it in by hand.
Okay. Let's see if I can manage to do this. Okay, 6 plus my fighter level, so I get 10 hit points back.
Are we? Yeah.
I wanna take my ever burning torch and kind of stick it in the water here, just to see if there's anything like beyond this wall, like there was on the other side.
There are definitely caverns that, as near as you can tell, are probably also filled with water that have broken through the floor here.
Okay.
I may not have seen it, but on the other side there was another platform.
What was on the platform?
I couldn't see.
Well, should we
Rock.
make our way out of here or what?
Well, perhaps a brief rest would do us wonders.
So are we leaving this dwarf here?
We'll have to bring him.
I think at this point Luciroshi probably would have done this medicine check on him.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I was over there.
Yeah. Someone would have. Someone who's nice.
Did I not do one?
Well,
I don't recall. Do another one to figure out how to fix it.
Hey.
You would. I mean, again, it's unclear why your magic didn't affect him. You would hope that he might heal over time. There are, in this world in particular, non-magical healing techniques that are fairly advanced. And so a traditional doctor, a natural doctor, might have more success in healing him.
Homeopathy. Yeah, I mean, I would have something to try, but I want to get out of here first. So
Perhaps we should take a brief, short rest, just for half an hour, just kind of lick our wounds and.
if you think it will benefit you.
Yes, it would actually. If we run into any trouble, I'll need a little bit more strength.
Very well. And I'll drag the dwarf over near me, and I'm actually going to go into this corner.
A short rest will not help me.
I'm not sure there are many things that can help you, Howard, but I'm here for you. And
if we rub some pig shit in that dwarf's face, maybe that will help him.
be calm, sir. He's a dwarf, not an elf.
so why don't you ask your buddy there, I can't think of his name.
Samus?
The Quagoth.
Oh, Thonot.
Just Thonot, what he thinks about staying here for just a bit.
Thonot had said last time that he's concerned that the other thralls might find and attack you if you stay here. So he said he doesn't think it's wise to camp out here.
Well,
I mean,
wisdom never stopped us before, so
Wisdom's my dump stat. Well, wherever we stay, I think we should do a brief rest prior to making a serious attempt to leave this place.
I know that'll benefit me.
Yeah, so maybe we could just like leave and start walking.
So you see Thonot hunkers down, and you could see a light begins to sort of form around his head as he closes his eyes and meditates. And it looks as if his wounds close slightly.
I need that. Maybe if I wear him, I will be able to acquire these skills.
Could I determine the nature of this healing? Is it like divine healing?
Give me a religion or arcana check, whatever you prefer.
Well, Hellware, don't use the same words you used to that crocodile.
Yeah, you're not sure. It didn't strike you as a spell. There was no incantation.
Let's see. I'm gonna cast. Well, shoot, I can't cast comprehend languages. So I'll say, Thona, what was that?
And Thonot stares off a bit as if he's trying to think of a way to convey this in the limited common he has. And he finally decides on mind has power, can heal small wounds.
Huh. You speak wisdom.
Always.
What are we doing? Are we resting here or are we moving?
Let's leave. And Lucharos can carry Samus.
Lucharos doesn't respond because he got kind of beat up psychically last time. He is still recovering from that.
I think he would want to be the bearer of bad news.
Who's the best armored?
I would assume
I
you
think
or
Lucharosi.
Lucharosi.
I got 19. I can't tell what his is.
Lucharosi's armor class is 17.
Jesus fucking Christ. All right.
He's the other big boy.
What's wrong with you people? Should not have the cleric front rank.
Right. Yeah, so if you're moving out and not resting, Thonot thought you were resting, so he actually hunkered down.
Oh.
But he gets back up and is ready to go again. Half expecting you to change your mind and be like, no, let's rest.
So am I.
Thonot suggested. I turned TL turns to Thonot. You suggested we don't stay here, so we must find somewhere else to do a short rest.
Perhaps in the room with the other bodies, past the statue.
Well, there's a lot of bodies around here.
There's still a few unconscious Quagoffs I do not want to be around when they wake.
We could head back up to the top floor.
It will require swimming.
Have all the hallways flooded? Like
The hallways where you entered this level appeared to have flooded when you last saw them.
Oh boy.
have they flooded from the stairs?
Yeah, the hallways around the stairs. Now, where the water came from, you don't know. Donut blamed the Lizard Queen Witch for the flooding. So it wasn't immediately evident where she would have gotten water to come down the stairs. So the water may have come from somewhere else.
It would be impressive if they could flood the entire thing from all the way down. Because I'd be assuming that they flooded the entire top floor. Or the top 2 floors.
Yeah, the area where you entered and the area that was sort of beyond that you didn't go into, that Donut said was like a lizard folk hatchery, was probably about 10 feet lower than this particular section of this floor you're on now. Because you had to go upstairs to get to this.
That makes sense.
We had to go upstairs or downstairs?
Well, there's a first level, and you came down the stairs from the first level. You then had to walk up a short set of stairs to get to the level you're on now. Which led to the causeway that overlooked the room with all the bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the spiral staircase that goes up, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's another set of stairs here. So it's basically this section of the hallways are flooded and are about 10 feet lower than this section of the building.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, assuming the water is essentially level, it might not be that much swimming. You might basically have to make it to the stairs and then go up 10 feet to be out of the water again.
That's doable. However, we're gonna be toting Samus.
Right. Through the dirty water.
Yeah.
With the open wound.
That's the least of his problems right now.
Right. I mean, if the alternative is to leave him here to die, probably better to drag him through the water.
Well, there's so much swimming. I'm keen to get out of here.
Yes. Me as well. I would be interested in. I'd like to see if I could explore and sneak. I want to see what's kind of over this way.
Why?
To see if there's any nooks or crannies on the south end of here that haven't been flooded that we might be able to hide, kind of hunker down in.
You're looking for something that's worth killing.
There are definitely sections of this level that you haven't seen yet. Like there's a passageway here that you haven't seen. That's probably runs into the passageway here. There is another hallway here that went south that you didn't explore, but it seemed as though there was a room at the end of the hallway. And then beyond the hallway here, there was also the hatchery.
Hatchery sounds like shooting gallery to me.
Well,
we are not
perhaps
in a state to go messing with even young lizards.
I agree with that.
We must go up. Out of the water. where we may rest.
Yep, I agree.
Let's do it.
Follow me.
Chevron formation.
Classic chevron formation.
Keeping an eye out. Make sure we aren't fucking ambushed or anything.
Where the hell did everybody go?
We're running away. Still nothing. Is it all pretty chilled through here?
Hmm.
What the hell is that?
What the hell is what?
Right here at the corner where I'm at.
Oh, it's
Is that the statue? Okay, that's the statue.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that's the statue.
Keep going down that hall.
So when you get to where you are now, Zarius, like you'd be completely submerged because that hallway just dips down pretty steeply
Right.
to get to the square you're in.
But there's a door,
But
though,
it's-
right?
Yeah, it's wide open now after the dwarf went through it, you think. So you know that the stairwell is beyond it, although it's a little hard to see at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I have my torch that luckily burns under the water even, so
Right.
everyone take a breath. The stairs should be right through the doorway. And then I'm also gonna probably, I guess I'll activate. Nah, because I'll probably need my hand to swim, so I won't worry about it for now. I'll just go in, start swimming upwards.
Yeah, and T-hole will follow.
Okay. So you're able to pretty easily make it to. I mean, it's a slow swim for those without a swim speed, but you're able to make it there relatively easily. Lucirosi is dragging the dwarf with him, so he's essentially got that weight with him. But you all managed to make it up and back to the first level of the temple.
I hate to bring this up, but I would assume my character has been around water, so he would know how to keep his weapons fairly dry, sorta.
Yes, yes. Although the powder in this world still functions when wet.
I love this world.
You're carrying around like mythical versions of the AKs. They mud doesn't matter what's on them. They just work.
So what do you suggest? We all pick a coffin to lay in?
Actually, that's not a bad idea.
Only if you wish to die.
I am close enough.
So you know from here that there are two ways out. You came in through this stairway here, and then you also briefly saw that there was a stairway out over in this other room.
Yeah, that might be our better bet. Quicker up.
We can't go through here because that's where the fish is, and it's all tight, will bleed and stuff.
What's what?
Right at the moment, the only way that you know out is through that hallway with the fish in it.
Oh well, no, we're sleeping in coffins.
What fish?
Remember when you were trying to fit through and you had your gimp leg through that crack?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there were fish which ate you because you bled.
Yes, there you have seen that there are little swarms of quippers that live in the hallway.
Fucking Jesus! How tall was this water again?
It's like, isn't it like waist deep or something?
Yeah, the water in the hallway is about 4.5, 5 feet deep.
I think as long as we hold the dwarf above water, we'll be fine. Most of the damage we received was psychic.
That's not true. Nowhere.
That's not true.
Oh, yeah. That's right. You were bit.
Fucking mauled.
All right. So, how heavy are you?
Crowd surf your way to freedom.
Someone, I need a piggyback, guys.
I thought
That's why I asked, how heavy are you?
I thought the fishes were further south and not like in the hallway like here or here.
There was an attack by them further south, but the fish saw them all through the water. It's just that without blood there, they weren't reacting.
Yeah, I'm 300 pounds without armor, so.
Jesus fucking. Why? What the hell are you?
I'm a Goliath.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I think this would probably be the best place to stop and take a short rest, and we can assess what to do from here on out.
How many places of?
Go ahead.
How many places of entry are there? Obviously, where we just came up, the water.
There's the tunnel, stairs, and then that shadow fucking thing can just move through the walls. So the thing that chased you in.
Yeah.
We also can't go in this room because that's where like that mind control crystal is.
We just passed through quickly. We should be fine.
Yes.
Yeah. Hell, where if you don't stop and talk to it, we should be good.
And Hellware, just a reminder, you still have the memory of there being a vault in here that you could never open.
Yeah, I know. We're planning on coming back.
Are we?
If Lucirosi was here, he'd say yes.
Are you sure? I think we can email him.
There's evil lizard guys down here, Lucirosi. You've got to come. You got to kill them all.
All right. I'm gonna move. Let's see.
So do you want to rest here?
Yeah.
Okay. So I will let you know. Nothing will happen to you if you short rest in this room, just so we don't have another conversation about whether to rest or move on.
Why not?
Whoa. I don't know if I'm
Hang on.
that.
Breaking immersion.
I just imagine the exact same conversation again.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody manages to rest for an hour.
I'm going to do for 2.
I guess I'm gonna do my best to bandage myself up, especially if we're gonna leave here, because I've got no hit dice, and we're most like I'm gonna need a long rest before I get anything. So.
Ooh, yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy to say, well, give me a medicine check to see how well the bandages are staunching the blood flow.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's a good one. I might have to use an action point.
Okay.
Alright. I'm the best at it now.
The best and the worst.
You're able to bandage yourself up to the point where you're pretty convinced that there's not going to be any blood coming out into the water. It would be funny if the Quippers killed you, though.
It would be. I'd rather die to the damn crocodile.
Survive the crocodile killed by fish.
It's like a winner of like the Darwin Award or something.
I would probably have to retcon this to make them goldfish. So yeah, the hour passes. Once again, you don't hear anything. I mean, this level's colder, but you don't hear anything moving around. It's just, the only sounds you hear really are the echoing sounds of your own movement on the stone floors of this place.
We heard no stirring from the level below.
Nope. Oh, did anyone want to take time to identify the magic dagger while you were resting?
I mean, I was holding it, so. I mean,
okay.
I don't have identify, so I'd have to attune. So I'm just gonna hope it doesn't curse me.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's fine.
It's all good.
I have identify.
Yeah, you can.
We don't need you to cast spells, man.
What?
We don't need you using any spell slots.
That's fine.
I'll just attune. It's fine.
I got identify too. It's a dagger.
Hold on. And I will give you the actual description of it. And Zarius, give me a religion check.
The good old rot dagger.
I'm real smart.
I was just saying if you knew some additional information about it, but no, you don't.
Even it being like obviously death related, I don't know any like advantage. Even advantage doesn't fucking matter.
Right. With advantage, that was a 6.
I'm like, oh yeah, I already roll with advantage.
Can D-Hole try to make a religion check to see if he recognizes it?
Are you trained in religion?
I am.
Yeah, then you can.
I'm trained in all sorts of things.
Whoa.
You would recognize this as belonging to the death cult of Vecna.
Okay.
Okay. It's like, that blade you have there looks a bit like the cult of Vecna's. Looks like their handiwork. What do I know about the cult of Vecna?
Well, given your sort of long history in the Empire, you would know that the cult of Vecna is sort of an odd one in that Vecna was only sometimes considered to be a deity, but the cult that worships him is both. It's very persistent because the Empire tried to get rid of it for 1,000 years and was never 100% successful. Because he's the Lord of Secrets, they tend to maintain their cult in very secret conditions, even to the point of sometimes the worshippers think they're worshiping one god, and the top clericy in the religion really understand that they're worshiping Vecna, and they hide that fact from people. So there's no particular like vestments or anything else because they don't want people to know that they're a member of this cult. But these daggers were a way for different high-level members of that church to recognize one another.
Is Vecna a god of the Underdark, or does it come from this?
Secrets?
No, he is definitely from this world. The churches dispute him being a god. Almost every church disputes him being a god, despite the fact that he has this persistent cult of worshippers. They tend to just describe him as a once upon a time very powerful lich. Maybe the first lich, although that's disputed itself. Now, can you trust all those religions to tell you who the real gods are? No, because they all claim that the other gods aren't real gods.
What are you saying that my god isn't the true god?
No, mine is.
Oh, that makes sense.
No, what's he saying is we could all be in this death cult. We don't even know it.
That's true.
Well, I'll be damned if I was part of a death cult. That's why I only believe in myself.
I'm only a cleric of the grave domain. This disturbs me greatly.
I think it's interesting that this dagger was in the possession of Carol Hoole and used on Holbein so savagely. I wonder what Carol Hoole had to do with this cult of Vecna.
He may have just found the dagger.
Well, that is certainly possible. It is true that perhaps one of the villagers was part of the cult and didn't know it.
Probably that Graza.
And to think, I wanted to mate with her. Well, that's all right. There are other fish in the sea.
Of course.
Get you a necromancer and you can get your wish.
We'll have to kill her first.
The persistent presence of this mind flayer has certainly lends credence to him being part of this cult.
So what's our plan? Are we just gonna look around up here or go back down there and kill some more things or what?
We're going to want to try to leave.
I am still not at peak power.
Yes, I'm happy to go back down there. Only after we've gone to the surface for 8 hours.
No more, no less. So let's how about we try to get back to one of the towns. Maybe Bogtown, since it's the closest. The passage out is up here. And I point to the hallway here.
Well, lead the way.
I just come up with the ideas. I'm not the person you want leading the charge unless you like reviving.
I'm clearly the one better equipped.
You push out into the water again. It's still pretty cold, but the fish don't seem to be bothered by it because you see them swimming around your feet.
Sure. I forget, this little crystal thingy, was that glowing?
In this hallway, they are. It's very dim.
Still glowing though?
Yeah.
I see T-Hole has just ran ahead there, so I wasn't sure if he has to make any sort of save.
Classic
No, he
T-hole.
doesn't. T-Hole does not have to make any sort of save, but T-Hole hasn't been bothered by these hallways at all.
Are we meant to be going up here, or are we meant to be going down?
Up here.
Okay.
Going back in this room.
This one.
We can go up the steps.
Skirt away from the...
You did determine last time that whatever trap affected the mind of the Dryad probably resets periodically.
Yeah, I know. I do recall that. Let's see here. Do I still have it? Yeah. I'll be using one of my final spells, but I can clear the magic before you go up. Hey, what is she still doing there?
You thought you saw her, but just a memory.
But yeah, I could just do my last 3rd level spell slot. Dispel on the area there.
Okay.
So you cast Dispel Magic. There is an audible pop as something is dispelled. And as you start to go up the stairway, you see that Thonot is just sort of hanging back, staring up at you, but he's not making any motion towards getting on the stairs themselves. And he turns and wades back into the water.
Donut, where are you going?
The temple is ours now. I'm going to find my fellow Quaggothi.
And you were going to leave without saying goodbye.
Yes. Can I slap this off?
Thank you, quote. Thank you, Thonot.
Yes. So you make your way up the stairs. You emerge into the 10 by 10 foot room that again is covered in pictograms and glyphs. On the outside of the temple, there's one archway that leads to the top of the stone ziggurat. The swamp is still dark and still stretches out all around you. Once again, you hear the sounds of the swamp, the bugs and birds that are still out. But otherwise, it seems to be the middle of the night. And you can't really see that well except by the light of your torch. So you're making your way to Bogtown?
Yeah.
And nothing stops us.
Actually, it takes several hours to make it to Bogtown, but you do manage to get there. As you know, it's probably another hour or two before the sun comes up. But no, nothing stops you. You're able to get there pretty much unscathed. It is another one of those situations, though, where had it been left to your own devices, you probably would have gotten lost. But you have Hellweir with you, and Hellweir is able to avoid most of the dangers of the swamp themselves, the things that might have gotten you into trouble or trapped you in the mud, or just getting lost on the half-submerged paths. The ranger can't possibly get lost, so he can immediately find the trail back to Bogtown.
Woo. Look at me.
It feels good to be
Bogtown,
back.
yeah, Bogtown looks almost, although it is a terrible place to live, is a sight for sore eyes at this point. It is still a group of huts, though only one house that was well made at all is burned beyond recognition. But there are any number of huts to choose from to lay down in.
Oh yeah, was this the place that got abandoned? Like all the people left?
All the people became thralls and then got killed by the party. One guy did not become a thrall, but he got killed in the fight where everybody else in the town died.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So the whole place is open.
Yes, the whole place is open.
Gotcha.
I'll choose the biggest hut.
So it takes a little bit of time. There's some measuring involved.
I just find one that has a
Back-
fireplace.
How many cubits is this hut?
None of them seem to have fireplaces. Most of them have just central fires. And then there's most of them have conical roofs. There's a hole in the roof for smoke to go out.
Are there any
But
donkeys?
all of them have. There probably are still a few animals left. All of them in pretty bad shape because they've been starving for a while. But it's only been a couple of days, really. So yeah, there probably is a donkey if you want to find it and burn it to death.
No.
God.
What happened to the last donkey?
No, not a donkey.
Yeah, you can easily find either donkeys or ponies. There's probably a few of each.
Any other house pets? I guess I would let out. Let them roam. They'll have to fend for themselves, but they have a better chance of doing that than staying in a house.
Yeah, these huts aren't so sophisticated that like none of them have like glass windows or anything of that sort. So if there were pets inside, they've probably all gotten out.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right, long rest.
Are we all staying in the same house, or are we staying in different ones? Huts, I should say.
Well, I don't know if T-Hole would deign to stay in the same house.
I think T-Hole would allow it, at least given he's too exhausted to truly put up a fight if anybody objected.
So then it's up to you.
It might be safer
Yeah.
to at least be in huts near each other.
Lucia spends some time finding another wagon and pulling one of the donkeys out and hitching it up so that he doesn't have to actually carry the unconscious dwarf.
But he was doing such a good job.
But it's easier on the dwarf to lay him flat in a wagon.
That is true.
Right. Although if you leave the roads, you may have to abandon the wagon anyway.
Well, hopefully we can just take the roads back.
Right.
Lucia, perhaps he should stay in a hut as well instead of on this cart all night.
Yeah, no, he was doing that for when you leave. He put the dwarf in a hut first, then went to do this. Not leaving the dwarf outside.
He needs that fresh air.
The dwarf can sleep outside tonight.
Yep.
like it's a dog.
Lou Shirosi wouldn't say, but I can imagine someone saying, but then who will be bait? So you all hunker down and get your 8 hours of sleep. I don't even know if you remember at this point, T-Hole, but I sent you an email with a dream you were going to have. This is the first time you've rested since then.
Now go read it.
Right. It is not necessarily going to be relevant this session, so you don't have to run off and read it now. But this is when you have the dream.
I did read it and I remember it. I can double check it.
Yeah, it was the one where you were sitting for a portrait.
Yes.
So in the course of the 8 hours of sleep, at some point, Holbein stirs a bit and his eyes flutter open and then they close again. So there's some movement in him, and it looked like maybe he was vaguely aware that people were around him, but he immediately passed out again.
Alrighty.
So is anybody standing watch?
I mean, Zarius is probably performing his own small rituals before going to sleep, but
yeah, I would take one of the watches.
Theo would take a later one, maybe, if nobody else was gonna take watch.
Hellware's probably already asleep.
Yeah, I'm gone. I'm waking up.
So later on in the afternoon, the first watch passes and the second watch passes. Later in the afternoon, Holbein's eyes flutter open again. And this is because it's later, T-Hole is there. And he grabs you by your ankle and says, "Take me to the White Quills." And then he passes out again.
Do I know what the White Quills are?
Give me a history check, I guess. They really need a current events skill. The White Quills are they're an organization that started off inside the Empire, but has spread a little bit outside it. Mostly their original mission had to do with, after the fall of the Empire, bringing medicine and healing to the common folk again, although they've sort of branched out into medicine and education generally. So they're mostly focused on trying to keep the population literate and knowledgeable and informed.
Sound like stand-up people. Do I know where they're located?
You're not sure where they'd be located nearby. The only place sort of big enough to maybe have, and even then it's probably not big enough, but the only place that might have some representative of the White Quills would be Watchtower.
Makes sense.
The White Quills?
Yes. It's now late afternoon, and everyone begins to wake up again, fully rested.
That was a great nap.
Where to now?
Well, we should go kill those lizards.
I couldn't agree more with you.
But you could agree less. Save us all some trouble.
There's also something in the temple which I need to seek.
Says who?
What's that?
It's a golden ball. It's hidden.
I'm sorry, your
In a
accent
vault.
made that sound like bowl?
Boa. Boa.
A boa?
A-
Like a boa constrictor?
Golden pig.
Yeah, but we need to dump this dwarf somewhere first.
Yes, taking care of Samus is the most important thing. He is the one that we've been chartered to retrieve and protect. After all,
Do you think we can leave him in the hands of in Alcator, like at the tavern or something?
I don't think so. The citizens of Alcator can't handle anything.
Yeah, Zarius would know that the citizens of Alcator have all fled. Alcator is essentially gone. Having been attacked one final time, all the elves were taken and everyone else fled for Watchtower.
Sweet, we should rob the place.
They likely would have taken all of their belongings with them. Give me a moment. I haven't added this spell into my thing yet, but I'm gonna ritually cast augury.
Okay. There's a spell I need to look up. Answering whatever kind of thing you're going to ask.
I get a response for weal or woe, basically, or weal and woe, or nothing.
What's it called?
Augury. Yeah, I like I said, I haven't added it to my thing yet, so I can't just tap it and bring it in. But
yeah, I have it open.
I'm gonna cast it as a ritual, so.
Okay.
But let's see here.
While you read it, just for a sense of scale, Watchtower is probably about 15 to 20 miles to the south of you. So it's going to take essentially a full day to travel from here to there. The temple is probably about 5 or 6 miles away from you. So because you have to take the twisty path of the swamp, it also would take about 10 hours to get to. So most of a traveling day.
So yeah, I guess oh wait, let me double check here. Yeah, okay, so the first thing I would try and determine is weal or woe on taking the trek back to the temple.
I mean, I guess give me how you're wording the question. If we walk back there, will we arrive there? We'll. Yes, you probably will arrive.
Yeah, and I could have told you that. So put your damn cards away.
So what specifically
well,
are you trying to learn?
It would be whether or not it's good results or bad results.
Right. I mean, there is a certain, I don't know whether, there are things in there you might fight. You probably will beat them, so we'll. Unless the dice go really badly against you.
Then it would be whoa.
I would guess in that case, I would take the cop-out answer from the spell of Wheel and Woe.
Sure, sure.
Because- But I mean, yeah, there's nothing in there that's going to be, potentially fatal, I wouldn't think. So
Sure.
this isn't Wheel and Woe, but I'm just describing what the gods are weighing and trying to answer this for you.
Yeah.
But you might be injured and there could be other problems. Like Lord only knows if the dwarf will die.
Yeah, I mean that is basically what I am kind of trying to gauge is if we go there, bad results could happen. So yeah, so if we go back to the temple now, we're likely just to receive mixed results.
If we wait a day or so, we would have had a chance for some of the thralls to wear off, and then we would have at least some less enemies to deal with in that sense.
The Quaggoth may have cleared out the rest of the place.
Yeah, but are they going to welcome us back when we go there?
Perhaps if we just remind them of who freed them.
Is there a way that we can tend to the dwarf until he's conscious enough to make the trek back to Watchtower?
I believe he's just going in the cart.
Or is he chromatized?
He is going to be in and out of consciousness for a while unless he gets essentially a well-trained physician caring for him.
We're only going to really...
Right. You don't think he's going to just expire on his own. He's not going to just die. So something would have to happen to him for him to start to die again. But he's not going to wake up anytime soon, which is really more or less a story element at this point.
Well, I think we need to bring him back to Watchtower because that's the only place where he has a reasonable chance of getting the medicine he needs.
I agree.
If he cannot take himself, well, I guess we're the errand boys to do it.
However, we'll have to be careful. If we bring him ourselves, it may look suspicious that we're carting him and he's so gravely injured when we were not the people he left with.
Would it? If we meant him to die, why would we bring him with us?
It's a disguise, a cunning disguise by the bandits who tried to kill him.
Again, we could be part of that cult. We don't even know it.
It's the obvious Trojan horse.
Going back to Watchtower then?
I think that would be the right way to go, at least with Samus in our care.
Yeah, and I can only imagine Lucirosi pushing that as well. So
but we could take a random direction and hope for the best.
Yeah, I could possibly get lost in the swamp and end up walking back towards the temple.
Let's move.
Okay, so so it's late afternoon. Do you want to travel through the night, or are you going to rest along the way? It's it is essentially 8 hours of travel or so to get there.
we could perhaps go in the morning.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
I know many of us are not able to see in the dark very well.
Maybe we can
Okay,
settle up some
so-
parties.
I don't know you're going to find a pony that could take a 300-pound plus Goliath.
Go, you damned horse!
But you rest again through another night, and in the morning set out. And towards the end of the next day, you may get back to Watchtower.
I'll have been doing my best to, make sure the dude's wounds don't fucking go bad.
Yeah, you take some time to clean out the wounds, as they did pick up dirt in all the carrying and swimming through the mucky water. Although I assume you did actually carry him above the level of the water in the one hallway. He had to be submerged to get him up the stairs. But he once again looks like the wounds at least are clean, and so that might help to prevent some sort of infection. So you approach the gates again. As you are getting up there, you can see, unlike when you left it, it does appear as if there's been some damage to the wall, at least the wall that you can see on the north side of the city. It's not immediately apparent as you're approaching it what caused this, except that you then come upon the body of what looks like a hill giant. Its head is completely gone. But it seems to have a hole blasted through the left side of its body. There is a chunk of ribs and flesh that are just gone on one side below its arms. Its arms seem to be intact, and then its head is completely gone. Otherwise, you see the gate appears to be open, and there are a few people moving in and out, but as before, you see there's a pretty heavy guard presence there at the gate itself.
There was only one hill giant.
That's all you can see, yes.
Does it look like a fresh body?
Yes, it is extremely fresh.
I guess I'd talk to the guards. I'd go up to the guards. I'd ask there was only one giant which attacked?
No, sir. There were several giants that attacked. There was only the one we had to kill on this side before the forces that attacked the north gate broke and ran.
What were they doing here?
Attacking. I mean, what their ultimate goal was, we don't know.
There's no head on this one?
No, there's no head.
Did any of them make it into the city?
No, they were all repulsed at the walls.
What happened?
There was relatively more damage on the eastern side, where they managed to make it up to the wall and managed to do some damage to it, but ultimately the cannon were able to repulse them.
Is it safe to assume that the cannon is what's resulted in this one's head being removed from its body?
Yes, sir. Took it clean off. And then he sort of whispers to the one next to him, "What the fuck is this thing?" The other one leans back. It's a dragon man, I think.
I hear it, but I don't care. Do you know where these white quills might be?
Let me see. No, sir. I don't. Never heard that before.
These two guards have to be intimidated. They've got a Goliath and a Dragonborn just towering over him.
Also, do they have a reaction to Kajika as well? Like he's a hobgoblin.
Yeah, but
I'm
I'm not as big as you guys.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah, but hobgoblins are like slavers around these parts.
They are, but they're. I mean, it's not like anything else. It's not like every hobgoblin is a slaver, but also, right? Hobgoblins are pretty common around here because it's right on the border with the Hobgoblin Nation. So they're not at war with the hobgoblins or anything. He's probably more at ease with there being a hobgoblin here than a dragon man and a Goliath.
Okay.
He just assumes you're like a sickly, gray-skinned human, and that makes him feel better. You're like sickly and huge and muscled.
He's able to suspend his disbelief with you, but when there's a talking dragon man, well, it's a little more difficult, I guess. Especially one with copper skin, albeit rather dull copper skin.
Well, you got any medicine healers in town? Someone who knows their stuff?
Oh, there's the Temple of the Gods. Their healing is legendary.
Magical healing will not work.
And he just looks confused.
We need a physician.
Yeah, that's the fancy word.
I mean, someone might have those skills, I suppose. Who doesn't use magic? I'm sorry. Are you proposing? And he sort of looks at the group. Listen, your kind don't tend to do well. I mean, obviously, he points to T-Hole. You, sir, are more than welcome to come in. But your friends, if you can vouch at least for the hobgoblin, that's probably fine.
Hobgoblin? What hobgoblin are you speaking of?
The one standing next to you, Your Highness.
Oh, Goliath.
What?
Wait.
Like I said, we got to find this physician for our friend here. He's not right in my mind.
Sorry, I forgot that your character was a hobgoblin. That's my bad. I thought you were making digs at nowhere.
The guard then says to the hobgoblin, I understand your friend is very old. Is someone in charge of him? Are you looking after him?
Of course.
I look after myself. Thank you very much. Have I told you about the Empire? I'm the Emperor.
We'll get back to that later there, young fella. Just let us through. We got to find this physician.
So you also have the cart with the dwarf in it. They've clearly seen the dwarf. And what exactly happened to him?
He's been hurt.
Tell.
He's a very ugly dwarf.
Well, I can't imagine that if you're bandits, you would have brought him to the gates. So, in light of the fact that I guess he is in need of healing, very well. Feel free to pass.
Thank you.
And they wave. One turns and waves to the guards at the actual gate itself and along the wall to allow you to go through.
All right.
May this kindness look forward. May this kindness look favorably upon you in the future.
So once again, you've entered the town. It's not really a city. It's probably got you guessed last time about maybe 15 or 20,000 people. A lot of them are here because of all the work that was being done on the walls, though. So they may or may not be long-term residents. But it is, it is mostly recent construction, so it looks very clean as these sorts of border towns go. And it's got its fancy walls and cannon emplacements to defend it if the hobgoblins should ever attack. But where would you like to go?
So
you know, by the way, that the Marquis Hall is here. So that is where Hellweir almost got arrested. I'm sorry, it's here, actually. Yeah.
Where did
you also know that
come in at?
You came in through this gate, which is actually relatively close to it. Well,
Okay.
This gate here.
It's probably best to go there because the king's emissary or whatever sent us on this mission. So maybe it's best to take this dwarf corpse to them and they can lead us to a physician. So we're not paying for it, at least.
Yeah. We'll start. Yeah, I mean,
that makes sense. I suppose we can do that.
Okay, so you make your way back to the palace of the Marquis that rules this town. As before, the outside of it is pretty late in the day, but the outside is still sort of thronged with people who want to get messages in or want to have audiences with the Marquis or various officials inside the court itself. There's a chamberlain who's sort of up on stairs looking down at all these people, occasionally selecting one of them or another to go in and have an audience, but mostly just rebuffing them and sending them away. There's probably, even at this late in the day, about a dozen or so people that are just clamoring around this guy.
I would look like I look back at everyone and I just point at the chamberlain, be like, "We're coming up," and I just start pushing through everybody, walking up the stairs.
So give me an athletics check. So you easily shove your way past them. When you get up to the guy who's making the selections, he holds his hand up and says, "Hold, beast. You are not entering the court of the Marquis."
Why not?
Because there is only a very select few who ever get to enter the court. And you look as if you rolled around in a pigsty.
I don't care. And I grab the wagon and I start pushing it up the stairs.
Well, that would require you to run a bunch of people. So that is actually harder to do than you're imagining.
Do we hear this conversation?
Oh, yes. Yeah, of course you do. So you see, he reaches down and grabs the wagon and is now just trying to slam it into people. Give me another athletics check. So people are diving out of the way. At least 2 people have been run over by the wagon as you're dragging it up the stairs.
Maybe they should have moved faster.
And at this point, you can see guards that were sort of further up beyond where the Chamberlain is standing have stepped forward and are looking down at you now. And the Chamberlain says, "I said, hold, creature. You are not entering." What
We
who
are.
is
Wait a second,
entering.
fella.
this cre-
We are entering. We have Samus Holbein here. He is near death. We need a physician.
Excuse my friend here. He usually talks to crocodiles, and that's why he rolls around in pig mud. So let us through.
That'll convince him.
So, someone give me a persuasion check. Whoever wants to do it.
Let's see.
I'm not proficient in it, but I can go.
Can I do an intimidation against the guards?
Sure, you could try an intimidation.
Yeah, it didn't work.
Oh boy.
Uh,
T-hole, you gonna do persuasion?
Yeah, I'll try.
There
That's
you go.
pretty good.
Yep.
And he still doesn't look like he's moving to let you in, but he does say, if you need a physician, there wouldn't be a physician here. Take him to the, what are they called? And he turns to one of the guards. The White Quills has physicians. Take him to the temples, though. The man looks like he's going to die.
Yes. Well, when Samus Holbein is well, and we tell him that you denied us entry, then we'll definitely let him know.
the White Quills at this temple.
No, the temple would have nothing to do with them, I'm sure.
The temples will not help this man.
Well, where are the white quills at, Mr. Smarty Pants?
If you go to the southern edge of the city, just north of the temple itself, you'll find they have a new tower that they were constructing. It should have a picture of a white feather. A feather is a quill.
That should be fairly easy to find.
If you look for this, it's the only stone circular tower in that particular area of the city. So yes, it should be easy to find.
Oh, we'll take the body of your lord there. Thank you very much. Shall we, Hellweir? We have stairs and people to go past with this cart here.
So yeah, I look at Hellware, make sure that this dude can hear me, and I just say, "Let's go, Hellware. We'll come back and kick this guy's ass later."
It does an appeasing grunt as he walks down the stairs of the wagon.
Rerunning over the people that you ran over to get you to get up here.
Yeah.
I was going to say that Zarius would probably have gone ahead and just more like stared people down in a way from the stairs so that they are not run over. If anybody was slow to move, I would just say, "You want to get run over? Move."
Yeah, actually, roll me for the two guys you did run over. Roll me a d6 twice to see if you killed them.
Okay. Should I roll? Can I roll 2d6 or just 1d6 twice?
You can roll 2d6, but it's actually 1d6 twice.
There we go.
Okay, they both look like they managed to survive. 4 or higher, I'd have said you killed them.
This is great.
murder
Not having
charges.
good choice with this. We get to do whatever we want.
It's like playing hooky from the real party.
Whichever one looked the worst off, I would hit just a quick cure wounds on him.
Okay, that brings him. He is instantly healed. Thank you, sir.
They said anything to me.
And then he looks up and sees your toothy dragon maw and looks frightened.
You're welcome, and just walk away.
I look at I guess I go by the other one that's not hurt as bad and help him up.
He takes your hand and you help him up. And he seems to also recoil from you a bit. He's not terrified of you the way the guy was of the Dragonborn, but probably not a fan.
So I just slap him on the shoulder. It's not your fault. You're one of the soft races. You'll be okay.
Well, thank you, Hobgoblin. And then he turns and says to the Chamberlain, I was nearly killed. Can I get an audience, please?
I nearly killed him. Can I get an audience, please? And start marching away.
So you make your way to the south part of the city. It doesn't necessarily, you see the temple from pretty far off. The tower he was speaking of is kind of it's wide, but it's relatively short. But it is easy to find because it's a gray stone circular tower that doesn't necessarily look like the buildings around it. And it does indeed have a sign out front of it that says the White Quills.
Where is it
and
on
there's
the
a
map?
picture of a white feather. It is right about here.
Okay. Oh.
I missed the little thing. Where's it at? Sorry.
Here.
Oh, okay. Cool. Thank you.
What's the outside of the building like? Does it look like we just walk in, or?
There's only one set of doors on it that you can see, at least on the main side of it. They're closed and locked.
Well, lock
But
never
there's
stopped anybody before.
I'll just bang on the door.
There is there's a heavy knocker on. It's a set of double doors. There's heavy knockers on both doors. So you knock, and after a minute, an older lady comes and opens the door. Yes.
We have someone in need of aid.
We're not ready to open yet. You should take anyone who is in need of healing right now to the temples.
The temple will not suffice. Magic will not heal this man's wound.
We need one of them physicians.
Well, there is one in town, but he's not. And she looks and sees Holbein. Oh, it's Samus. Well, the healer, the physician is not here right now, but please, yes, come in. And
Well,
she
where
opens
is he
the door
at?
wide and motions you in. Well, he has a lot of business here in town, and we weren't expecting to need his services.
Well, we need
But
to go
he
find
will-
him.
He will be back probably shortly. It's getting dark out. Please come in. We should put Samus into a proper bed.
Yes.
Oh, if he's not-
he's gone through a lot.
If he's
He's
not
a good
back
man.
in enough time here, I'm going to send my friend Hellware after him. He's been known to run over people with this cart, too.
I'm sure he'll be back relatively shortly. There's no need to run anyone over with a cart.
That's positively barbaric. That's the kind of spirit I like in a Goliath. Do you happen to have any extra beds or whatnot that we could lay on? It's been a long road traveled. We could use a good rest ourselves.
There are plenty of quarters here that you could stay in. That shouldn't be a problem. If you're friends of Seamus.
Yes, well, we went through a lot of trouble, risking our lives multiple times to return him here. So I guess that makes us friends.
Who gave us this mission again?
Tiefling named Lexicus.
Lexicus.
Does she live here?
Yeah. Does the name Lexicus ring a bell to you?
No, not to me. What kind of name is that? It's a strange one.
I agree.
So she ushers you inside and takes you to a series of rooms. The first one for Holbein himself. While you wait, do you need food?
Do you happen to serve ale here?
Yes. Well, there's a cask in the basement.
I would like a draw from this cask. That sounds positively divine. You know what? Round on me. Everybody gets a cat. Everybody can get an ale.
So coming inside, you see that the place is, it looks like someone spent a fair bit of money to set it up, although mostly it seems to be dominated by a central library. And there's a lot of just empty space at the moment that looks like maybe they're going to be using it for something, but they don't have any furniture in a lot of the rooms yet. There are tarps dropped everywhere as they're doing painting in several rooms. In general, it looks like maybe it's going to be fitted out a little bit like a guild hall, but it's still in the process of being set up. And she disappears and goes and comes back. Straining under the weight of it, she has a pitcher of ale and glasses for everyone. But you can see she is sufficiently old that this is heavy lifting for her.
That's good. It'll toughen her up.
You're a saint, my darling. And T-Hole like grabbed the pitcher out of her hands and the cups and just try to distribute them. And he starts pouring everybody a glass.
So you drink your ale. In about half an hour later, a well-dressed, clearly noble-born man comes striding in. Behind him, there is another woman who looks a little bit aristocratic, who has her hands in her pockets and is sort of nonchalantly following by. The noble-looking man seems to be chasing a little girl who dashes into the room that you're waiting in. And she just begins to run around in circles around a table in the middle of the room, saying, "Ah!" until she ducks under the table, still making whatever noise she's making for some reason. And then the man walks in behind her.
This is a little girl.
Yes, this is the little girl comes in first.
What is wrong with this little one?
Excuse me. This is my daughter, the Lady Avelina Asilia Dia di Calabria. I understand you brought Samus Holbein here.
Yes, who are you?
I am Duke Decius Caius Cossus Lare Rendelis Jevius di Calabria. The White Quills is, I wouldn't say it is my organization. I would say, however, that I am doing a lot of the work for establishing it in Watchtower and other smaller towns around at the edges of its current domain.
All right. Are you the physician here?
I am a physician. I don't know that I would say I'm the physician here. I'm only here to help to establish this new headquarters, which is mostly done, except for buying furniture and things of that nature. So I won't be here much longer, but we will have physicians here. I assume you need someone to treat Samus.
Yes, he's quite in dire shape.
Yeah, the sooner the better, and if you keep blabbling on, he's going to be dead by the time you get to him.
Then I should go to him immediately. I understand that magical healing won't work.
That is correct.
Okay then. Where he is upstairs, I assume. So you may want to come with me. I probably will have questions.
I'll go with him.
So he leads you up the stairs and into the room where Samus is laying, and he proceeds to take out a large bag that seems to be filled with tools of some sort, and begins to examine the wound in his face. At some point, probably the old woman, you're not sure, but someone undressed him and put him into sort of sleeping gown. So he doesn't have the rags he was wearing appear to be just gone at this point. And he appears to be in clean clothes and washed up a little bit from the traveling. After about 10 minutes, he turns to you and says, What weapon made these wounds?
I'll present the knife.
And he looks at it and says, "Well, that is a special dagger. Is it what is it that is causing him to not be for magical healing to not work?
This dagger.
So there's some enchantment about the dagger?
It would seem so, yes.
Well, I have much work to do to revive him. Something will have to be done about these wounds. You cannot have just bone exposed to the air indefinitely. It will probably take me a couple of hours. I need to wash up. I will be back." And he strides out. A couple minutes later, he comes in and says, "You might as well go and rest. I will come and find you as soon as I am done treating him."
I wish to observe.
Very well. Stand away, though. At least, give me at least 10 feet of space, and you can observe to your heart's content, of course. And you watch as he spends some time cleaning out the wound. He tries to then stretch some of the skin back over the wound and is suturing it closed. There's not that much he can do. Like, there's plenty of skin to close off the eye. There's not a lot of skin and not a lot of stretching the skin to close off the large wound over the sinus itself. So that he seems to be just sort of making do until eventually he rolls Samus onto his side and exposes essentially just an ass cheek and cuts some of the skin off of his ass cheek. And then binds up that wound and uses the ass cheek skin to bind up the rest of the wound right over the sinus, right over the side of one side of Holbein's face. All of this, doing this and keeping the skin alive and fresh seems to take about 3 hours. It's going to take him to do this. But he doesn't object to anybody who wants to observe. But anybody else, what do you want to do with those 3 hours? There's not much in here, though, other than like a library and a kitchen.
Who was the woman that came in?
She hasn't introduced herself. She appears to be just sort of observing quietly. But she, like I said, she is exceptionally well dressed, and she appears to also be a noble woman of some sort. But she notices that you're looking at her and comes over to you. "Hello, Hobgoblin."
And you might be who? Probably somebody with a really long name.
"I am the Lady Contadina Aristra."
Hey, that one's shorter.
Only 2 names.
"I have many other names, but from your tone, I figured I would spare you."
Well, much obliged. What are you doing here? Are you one of them physicians?
"I am no physician, although I know some magical healing. I am an historian in the service of the Duke."
Come again?
I'm a historian. I am someone who records the comings and goings of people throughout history. See, things happened in the past, and someone has to remember these things and write them down.
I'm well aware of that. So you follow this Duke around and write all the things he does down?
I have done a biography of the Duke, but I am more of an advisor, using my knowledge of history and other topics to help inform the decisions he has to make.
Well,
what is your name?
Kajika.
And how is it that you came to meet up with Samus Holbein?
Well, I was sent to look for him. Apparently, he went missing.
He did go missing. He apparently went north to investigate the disappearance of some elves.
Yep, we found them elves. They're dead. You can put that in your little history, too.
It was a great day.
That is a great day. It's very unfortunate that the elves are dead.
Yes.
There are already tensions between Longspear and the Kingdom of the Elves. The deaths of an entire village of elves won't go over well. We can only hope there are no reprisals.
It's actually two villages of elves.
This is the emperor here. You got that in your history too?
Yes. T-hole at your service. I am the emperor.
The emperor of what? Of?
Why? Is it Gloranthus?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the emperor of Gloranthus. Gloranthus.
Yeah.
Whatever the appropriate pronunciation of it is.
Where I'm from.
The current empress of that empire looks somewhat different than you. Are you polymorphed?
I am the original emperor. She's an imposter.
What did
you... Sorry.
What did you ask him?
If he was
polymorphed.
Oh, I'm sure he'll take many wives if you ask, if that's what you're getting at.
I would be amenable to such a proposition.
Well, I'm not in the market for a husband at the moment, but if I were, an emperor certainly would be quite an honor.
My thoughts exactly. Nice to meet you. Do you know him at all?
Personally, I don't know him personally, but he and the Duke are well acquainted. Samus Holbein is he's of a noble family, although he doesn't have any sizable land holdings. His land holdings, such as they are in the consortium itself. His lord, however, Dom Petronio, has extensive lands here in Longspear. And as the Duke also has some lands here in this kingdom, they have to interact often and are personally friends. So the Duke knows Samus through his connection with Petronio. And then she turns to Kajika and says, "Is that too many names again?"
No. No, it's those long names for just one person I really can't stand. So, you also familiar with a Loki Zetus or something like that?
Loki Zetus. I don't know that name.
Would I know what she looks like, or?
Yeah, you would know. You've met her personally.
She's a blue-looking thing. Got some horns. You probably would have seen her roaming around town.
Loquitas.
That's probably because
Oh.
she's got one name. They probably don't recognize her.
You mean Lokexicus?
Yeah,
I
that
don't
too.
know her. I don't know her personally either, but she's well known as, in a manner of speaking, a dealer in historical artifacts. Basically, she's less generous. People might call her a tomb robber because she tends to acquire her stock of goods by any means necessary. But she's not necessarily one of the bad sort. She's just a little loose in her grip of the law.
Well, do you know where we can find her?
My best guess would be she tends to do most of her business from within the empire. So, although I don't know specifically where she would be now or even where she would be normally located, I know that she often does work in Pax Chloranthus. But that's
Oh.
quite a distance from here, 2,000 miles or so. Yeah, if you came to Watchtower looking for Lokexicus, I'm not sure why.
No, we came here to bring this Samus Holbein so he wouldn't drop dead on our watch.
Well, I'm sure the Duke is very pleased that you prevented him from dying. He's quite a talented engineer, as I understand it, and all around a good person.
Okay.
Why were you out looking for him?
Well, because I was getting paid.
Yes, and we're happy that we
getting
found
paid?
him.
Were you getting paid by whom? By Lokexicus?
I can't remember. Is that who it was?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, that's her name.
Oh, that's at least that's interesting. I don't know what Lokexicus would want with Holbein.
I'm sure she has her reasons, but regardless, he is here and he's finally under good health, and he can be counted among the lucky for surviving.
So is there
Yes,
anybody?
what of the rest of his party? He said when he went north, he set forth with a large group of nobles.
They all died.
Yeah, I think there's some land available, if you know what I mean.
Is this conversation taking place while the work is still being done on Seamus?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, the death of a noble doesn't make their lands immediately available. There are a complicated series of laws that determine who gets their land. Usually some child that is specifically named in a will or some similar instrument. Although even in the absence, and she realizes that she's about to go on into how the intestacy system works in Longspear, and catches herself and says, suffice to say, there are many rules about who will inherit the lands if those nobles are truly dead. Still, it would be good to report their deaths to the Duke, or at least to the Chamberlain who runs the Duke's court.
Oh, look at that. You got an excuse to go back.
She takes out of her pocket, which is one long pocket in her pant leg, a flute, and begins to play a little tune. And you see in front of you on the table there appears a tea set with cups for everyone. I'm going to have some tea if anyone would like some.
Some tea would be lovely.
So you begin to have the tea. It's pretty good. Not the best you've ever had, obviously, but for something sort of conjured out of thin air, it's pleasant.
This is passable, but I appreciate the effort. Have you been to the tea shop towards the northeast end of this gate of the inner walls?
Yes, I believe I have. There's only one tea shop in that general direction, so it was passable too, I thought.
Yes. It was the best tea I've ever had in this city.
So as you sit and have tea, she's clearly mostly interested in all of the details of whatever led you to Holbein and what happened to the village up north.
They all died.
So yeah, if you don't want to share those details, she'll back off. But that's what she's interested in hearing about. Your adventures in the north.
Can I get can I do an insight check to see like what her motives might be?
If she looks like she's kind of like a town gossip, or if she's genuinely interested, like her. Yeah, maybe I don't see shit.
You realize that she's probably a little into you.
Oh, so that sounds about right.
So you share as much or as little as you want of that with her. How much do you want to share? We don't have to necessarily run through all the summaries of all the sessions.
I think I'd probably share like the villagers disappearing in the middle of the night, and then them being brainwashed at Bogtown, and then how we heroically took care of or killed the mind flayer that was terrorizing the towns.
Yeah, I'm going to tell her how
she listens. Go ahead.
Tell her how I looked away and shot the Umber Hulk a couple times without even looking. And that how I told Hellware to stay away from the croc, and he still got grabbed. And tell her that whomever that the elf that attacked us, I still shot him with Hellware standing in the way. And since he wasn't a soft race, he could take it. And that how I almost brought down the mind flare.
And do you tell her anything about your actual mission, like why you were looking for Samus Holbein?
No.
So she seems interested in the parts that you do tell her about. She's not like taking notes or anything, but maybe she's just good at remembering these things, or maybe this is just gossip for her. A couple hours later, you see somewhat bloodied Duke de Calabria comes in with Zarius. You watched him essentially finish up closing the wound. He administered several sort of herbal pastes that he made in front of you to the wound. So it essentially almost looks like he's wearing a kind of greenish mud mask over that one side of his face. But he says to Zarius as he finishes up, we should return to your friends now, but it will probably be several days before he is conscious and aware of where he is again. Still, it went well. I think he will be fine. Well, he will. His eye will be gone, but he will be functional.
Very well.
So you head downstairs. The Duke re-explains that it's going to be a couple days before the dwarf is back on his feet again. And he says, So, in the meantime, I thank you all for bringing him to us and for saving his life. You should feel free to use the rooms here as you will. I will be leaving in a few days, so if it takes longer than that, I will be here long enough to make sure that Samus will be fine. But once I am convinced he is stable, I must head to Montvert, as the king is apparently having a gathering of nobles for some purpose that has not yet been revealed, and I am required to travel there. But you may continue to stay here as long as you like.
Trust me, we will.
This is a pretty nice place. Emperor could get used to such accommodations.
Thank you. It is obviously, as I said, they still need to finish up some of the details, but they will be handled whether I am here or not. Still, it is good that we will have, once again, people learning to read and to understand the world around them. That is one problem of the Empire falling, is that almost no one in this town now is literate anymore.
That's a shame. How did the Empire's fall affect schooling?
Well, the Empire used to provide, among other things, if you needed healing, if there were diseases, you could go to the temples and get healing for free. No one wanted, in the days of the Empire, no one wanted plagues to spread. So the Empire picked up any cost or trouble of healing. The Empire also had the royal physicians that were scattered throughout the continent, so that if the magical healing was not present, you would always at least have a physician around. Or if someone was injured in a place where the clerics were not present, the physicians could go and try to save them. But they also taught people to read and to write, and taught them history and civics. All of that is gone now. If you are a farmer now, you will probably, unless you happen to meet the White Quills, your children probably will never learn to read. It is not a skill that they pick up on, which means that news from different parts of the continent rarely flows easily anymore. And there are no books that let people know what is happening in from one place to another. You essentially get the local gossip and the distorted news that comes along the trade routes. Well, the White Quills hopes to change this, to return at least to the universal or nearly universal literacy we once had back in the days of the Empire. Not that the Empire was all it was cracked up to be, but it had its good moments.
That reading arithmetic's important. I'm glad you're spreading the word.
Well, it is perhaps something that most humans would not want to admit, but there are far more literate hobgoblins than there are literate humans, by at least per capita in this part of the country. If you need anything, Lorna, the caretaker here, should be able to see to your needs. Otherwise, I will go check on Samus one more time, and then I will be retiring for the evening. I also have to look after my daughter again, so if you will excuse me.
Good day.
So it's now solidly nighttime out. It's dark. The city lights are still on. The lanterns outside are lit. But it's, getting around the time when most people probably will be kicked out of the taverns and sent home drunk.
Okay. Would I know where to look for Lokexicus? Like, who would know where she...
You're adventuring. You actually probably know a little bit more about Lokexicus than Aristra, the lady you were talking to.
Okay.
Because your mercenary company has done work for her before.
Okay.
Your mercenary company and Lokexicus are both based out of the city of Cartha in the Empire.
Okay.
So that is a pretty good distance from here. It took 2 months to travel from Cartha to here. But you only came here because this is where Samus Holbein was, and it's where the door appeared to the manor that you're supposed to investigate.
Okay.
So Lokexicus actually thought you would just come, you'd knock on a door, Samus Holbein would open the door, you'd say, hey, let's go open this magical mansion, and he would say, okay, and then that would be the part of the adventure that she would consider finding Samus Holbein, because she wasn't counting on him having disappeared and being the prisoner of a mind flayer or any of that. So really,
We were
all of
underpaid.
that was all of that was a complication. Yeah, you would know from dealing with her before that you could probably, even though you have a deal with her on what you'll be paid, probably negotiate for a little bit more because of all the trouble. She's reasonable about those things.
Is there any kind of messenger service or whatever here?
You could find messengers. They can be unreliable, but it will take a while for them. If you want to send a message to Cartha, it'll take them the same 60 days to get there that it took you to get here.
Okay, so I'm going to draw a blank, but why did we end up going to the king's quarters or whatever it is? Like when we had to talk to the emissary, what was the point of doing that?
This time?
Last time.
Because Samus Holbein is an engineer who designed the walls of this city. So he was, at least the easiest place to find him was in the court of the Marquis, because he was working for the Marquis to build these walls.
Gotcha. So they pretty much knew where his last location was, and that's why we went there.
So,
right.
Gotcha.
I've met, what the fuck's her name again? Lokexicus?
Yeah.
I've met her, right?
Some people refer to her as, yes. Some people refer to her as Loki.
Right.
Because it's shorter.
I have met Loki.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Tomorrow, I can send her a message. A reliable one. Will not get lost, and it will be instantaneous.
Well, now we're talking.
I will have to commune with Osiris before I do so.
And can he be trusted?
With your life.
You can see that Lucirosi winces a bit at hearing about communing with Osiris, but he's used to it at this point.
Yes. Yes, Lucirosi. Osiris did bring me back from the brink of death. What has your god done?
Cyrus has brought most of them back from the brink.
Lucirosi rolls his eyes and stomps out of the room at that, unwilling to get into a fight while Mike isn't here.
I mean, he's lucky, because I was going to send him down into the water just to explore a little bit. Back at the temple.
Go see if this lizard queen has loot.
Yeah.
Report back. So Lucirosi he just growls at hearing what has your god done for us, and then says, I'm going to go to bed, and shakes his head as he stomps off.
Is the historian still there? Where's she at?
She followed the Duke out.
She wasn't bothered by the presence of a Dragonborn?
She didn't seem to be. Neither did the Duke.
He's highborn. He's supposed to keep himself composed.
Right. Well, she seems like she's probably highborn as well.
Hey guys, I gotta drop. I'm like passing out. I'm like pretty close to owl bearing, so
Yeah.
Okay, this
It's
is
a long rest spot.
yeah, this is a long rest spot definitely. So we can pick it up here next time.
All right, I'll see you guys.
Talk to you.
All right.
See you, man. Good stuff. That's cool. All right. Are we all leaving? Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Cool. See you guys. Thanks for the
See,
game.
see
All
ya.
right. All right. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.